For once, I was here before you.
Whoa!
Who the hell would have thought that would happen? I am completely shocked.
I am shocked as well. I'm baffled. But
They,
I got
yeah.
by that stupid Zoom voice every time.
we should give her. We should give the robot a name.
I know she's coming. I know she says your recording has started. But every time, and I make sure my volume is down. Every time I jump out of my seat.
We gotta call the recording something. I'm not sure. Like,
I don't know.
We could take a poll or something from our following and just be like, okay, well, what kind of name would be right to describe this voice coming on to tell us we've started recording?
I just have lots of bad words in my head right now. So, oh my goodness. Well, welcome to Getting Juicy.
Welcome to Getting Juicy. Hello, hello, hello.
Hello. That's not supposed to sound. It's just the Jewish bread. Challah. It's
yeah. Challah, challah,
challah. We have a lovely guest on our show today, and his name is Chris Menzies. Chris Menzies. I was trying to make up a word for him because I'm like, he's not yet a motivational speaker. I feel like he will one day become one, but he's like a motivational messenger. That's I just made that up.
I like that. Like he's the messenger for the future or something.
Maybe that was a weird laugh. It's just like he's a positivity maker. That's kind of what I
mean. Okay.
Okay, that's kind of. I was thinking like messenger, as in like messages or posts on social media.
Yeah.
He's a very positive person, and he basically not that long ago, within the last month, quit his very stable job to work for himself, and he works for Arbonne. So he has his own business with Arbonne. And he is a personal trainer. And he's just a huge advocate for, like I just said, but I'll say it in a different way, for spreading positive vibes and for spreading love. And he's a very wonderful person to speak with. So I'm excited to speak with Chris today. We've known each other for many years. So he's hopping on in a moment. I did also want to start talking maybe in the show, actually start to talk about, like guest updates. I thought that would be kind of neat. So
I think that would be fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good idea.
So I know sometimes we just like spitball ideas live on the show. Isn't that interesting?
I know, exactly. And without hitting each other in the face. It's great.
No, because we can't. We're not in the same room. I wish. Headbutt. Yeah. So no, and the reason why I thought that is because yesterday I actually saw two of our previous guests in the same day in person, and so it made me think about wanting to do an update. So the first one I saw was Ben and Julia. So we've had Ben on the show twice, and we had him on with his partner once.
Yes.
And of course now you're gonna be like, okay, which episodes are they, Rachel? I'll have to go back, and I can't recall off the top of my head. But he lives with a very devastating disease called scleroderma. It's an autoimmune disease. And he has gone back and forth and back and forth. He's only 40. His health has gone from like literally barely getting out of the trenches, so to speak, to like being great, which he is right now. So that was my update. He's doing fantastic. He actually ended up going to the Vancouver General Hospital in the past couple of weeks, and they've put a line to actually feed his medication directly into his bloodstream. So since doing that, and knock on wood and all those things, just an update on Ben. He's doing great. Like I said, I saw him yesterday. He has so much more energy. He's
good.
Walking around without his walker. He's doing well. So that's
Ben. Yay.
Yeah. And the second update is Susanna Campos, which we had on earlier on from Aya Moore Shoes and Accessories, and she just had a baby.
Congratulations.
So it's like, it's cool because now we've had the podcast for just over a year.
Yeah.
To see, progressions and talk about updates of guests. So I thought
and here's another one as well that you might have seen is Jono Babak from Australia of the Desperately Seeking podcast. He actually brought his podcast to a close, so he's finished recording it.
Oh, well, that's a bit of a sadder update.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, but as a shout out to him for doing everything with recording his dating life in Australia through the pandemic so valiantly, so boldly, to please show that support. So
Absolutely. Now, is this because Jono was on one of our very first episodes as a guest, and it is like one of those. If you want to go back and listen or watch it, it's like getting juicy after dark. So watch it and have the volume up when your kids are in the room. You know, just saying. So that's
yes, I would like to be able to do more after dark episodes and stuff. And I guess in the near future, our episodes will be after dark, especially in the fall and the winter.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So it's a pretty wild episode, that one. But I thought maybe he stopped doing the podcast because he found a partner.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe he did.
Oh, no. Maybe
you never know.
Because what he always would do is he compare them to famous celebrities. So I think one of them was the last one I think he talked about, but that was a long time ago, was Bob Saget.
Yes.
So he's like, he didn't want to, he wanted them to be anonymous. So he'd say, this is not Bob Saget, but it reminded me of Bob Saget.
Yeah. Or like not Joe Jonas.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I know. That's amazing. Well, I'm excited to meet Chris. I did take a look at what he's up to, and it seems like he, as you said, is very optimistic, positive, happy, and really living. I mean, I don't hate saying it, but I just find it's very overused, but living their truth.
Yeah. I thought you were either going to say that or living his best life.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you know what? At least we could do like, Paris Hilton and be like sliving, slaying and living.
They're all
honestly, I
actually do like that better than the other two.
Right? What? Hot and huge?
Oh no, I know. What's the second you said?
She was like, that's hot. And then she would be like, oh my God, that's so huge.
Oh, I don't remember that.
Yeah.
God. Oh my God.
Yeah.
And a quick shout out, because I'm wearing it. I keep looking at in the camera, to the North Okanagan Apparel Company where I live, and they have these very cozy V-neck or crew neck, excuse me, I should say, sweatshirts, and very much advocates of the Indigenous peoples up here. So I don't know if any money goes towards towards that group. I'm not quite sure, but anyway, they're just a great company all around. So
that's awesome.
Yeah. But so do.
What else is going on with you lately?
Oh, well, you know what? What else? It sounds like a start of a comedy routine.
Yeah.
What's wrong with you lately? Well, let's see. I freaked myself out because this is maybe too much information. I was like, oh my God, why is your urine bright yellow? Like really bright yellow.
Ooh, like a chartreuse?
Like, yeah, like bright. And
like a topaz.
Like a topaz, yeah. But do you ever do these things where you're like, have a moment of like, what the fuck? And then you remember, oh yeah, I just started taking more B vitamin, or like more B12, right? And then, or like if you had a bunch of beets the night before.
I was just gonna say that, yes.
You're like, what? You look, and not that like I inspect my poop and my urine all the time, but you kind of like happen to look down, you're like, whoa, that shouldn't be.
How did I eat? Yeah.
Yeah. And they're like, oh yeah, the beets.
Yeah. Perfect timing.
Right?
Love that.
Look at that photo.
Oh my God. Damn. Hello.
Ew.
How you guys doing?
Very well. How are you?
Fantastic. Hiiro, just meeting you for the first time.
Just meeting you for the first time, but I feel like I've heard a bit about you from Rachel and looking at your Instagram, and excited to meet you virtually face to face.
Fantastic. Yeah, likewise. You're in Toronto, I understand.
I was in Toronto visiting on a trip, and I will be moving to Toronto in the first half of November. So back in Vancouver for now.
Congratulations. Beautiful over there.
Thank you. And you're in North Vancouver, I hear.
I am. I've actually been here most of my life. I lived for a brief period in downtown Vancouver, but that was short-lived. It seems I always get attracted back to North Vancouver.
it's a beautiful space, and Rachel can definitely attest to that.
Yes, I can. Yes, I was the same way until I was like, fuck this shit. I can't afford if you want to buy. Anyway, yeah, it's not about me. This is not about me. But welcome, Chris, to the show.
Thank you.
Really
happy to be here.
On. And I know if you listen to our intro to our guests, and we do talk about our guests, obviously, but then we do talk about some kind of weird, wacky things. So I apologize. We did talk a bit about poop and urine just before you popped on.
Oh, great. I'm sorry I missed it.
Awesome.
You can watch it back if you really want. No. So anyway, yeah, welcome. And I was just saying, I think I've made up a new terminology for you. So I was saying that you're not quite yet a motivational speaker, but I feel like you're going to be.
I appreciate that. In training, I suppose. Yeah.
Motivational speaker in training. So I called you're a motivational messenger.
Perfect. I love it. I might adopt that.
Okay. So that's what I called you, because I really do feel like that's what comes across when I talk to you, and just no pressure. It's like, oh God, now I've got to be on.
No, it's fine.
That's kind of, what kind of comes across to me. But the biggest thing is just your love of humans and just wanting people to be. And we were trying to think of like a better words than saying living your truth and living your best self, because they're just so overused.
Mm-hmm. I would say it's almost a path of, I just did a video on this. It's, we as humans, we always have two choices when it comes to decision making or acting or anything, and it's either out of fear or out of love. So I like to speak and encourage and, try and get people to see how to act out of love over fear, because fear is such a palpable feeling in all of our lives. It's around every corner, and there's no way to get away from fear. I say, like, fear is always going to be on our road trip in life, but it doesn't get a say as to the direction, and it needs to sit in the back seat. So it's all about choosing love over fear. That's kind of, whenever I speak about anything, it always has that sort of message in mind.
Absolutely. I like that a lot, actually. And I kind of, we always like to have our guests kind of take the opportunity to actually introduce themselves. I know you don't really know what we just said about you, but I did talk.
I'm going to watch it back.
Yeah. And I mean, the biggest thing too is, you and I have been talking a few times over the past few weeks, and just, what does it take? And, your journey of going from maybe a so-called safe space or place of,
perfectly described,
right? Like, of being in this very, the word stable, I mean, nothing in life is really stable, but for lack of better words, stable job, stable, maybe a bubble of what you were doing for so many years, what you knew, and then just completely breaking away. And just in the past, how long has it been now? Like a month maybe of working for yourself? So
honestly, not even. It's been 2 weeks since I've kind of been on this new path. I mean, I started on my new journey, or moving towards it, about 8 months ago. I don't know how deep you want me to go into my story, but I can sort of
go as deep as your soul.
Okay, go as deep. Okay. Well, yeah. So first of all, I'm Chris Menzies. I am a certified personal trainer and behavior change specialist. I wasn't always that. Rewind. I grew up in Winnipeg, Manitoba with my family. My dad was always an entrepreneur. He was always working. That was my sort of view of him. Not that he was absentee by any means. I always felt the love, had a great upbringing, blessed in a lot of ways. So I always like to mention that. His career ended up taking us to Vancouver, BC. So we were living here since I was in grade 5. So most of my life has been here in Vancouver. And, I always thought, and still think to today, but when I was 13 years old and my brother was 11, my dad came out to our family as gay. And it was funny because he always calls, he throughout the years he'd call family meetings, he called them, but it was usually for something good. My brother actually thought we were getting a puppy, but so way off.
Wow.
Anyways, he came out. I don't really remember a lot from that moment. I just remember him delivering the news, and then I ran into the other room, and my mom chased after me, and all I remember saying is I thought we had the perfect family. In my mind, our family was coming to an end. I mean, I've done a lot of reading on this since then. 13 years old is a very tricky age for news like that of any kind. It could be, coming out, it could be divorce of some kind. Anyways, I now know years later that was actually the best thing that could have happened. My parents are so happy now. And, my mom wrote a book sort of to dump all of this out from her perspective. And when I read that book, I've only read it once. I'll go back and read it again, but it was a really tough read to see what she was going through in her own mind. And anyways, I'll keep that part short, but we have Christmas dinners together, Thanksgiving dinners. My dad's husband comes over, my mom's new husband comes over. It's like modern families, like seriously. And it's just unbelievably a blessed situation. So anyways, we'll fast forward. I met a girl named Chantel in 2012, and we moved very fast. We moved in together after about a year, and we were engaged 8 months after that. We were married a year after that, and then we were pregnant shortly after that. So everything was moving very fast. So we had our first boy 5 years ago, and we had our second boy a little under 3 years ago. But in March of last year, we made a decision to split, and for no other reason than our seas were parting, and we were just better parents than partners. But we always had in mind, she has one spectrum of divorce, I have the other spectrum of divorce, and we always kept that one in mind. So very happy to report that we are the best of friends today, co-parenting very successfully. We do the family dinner thing. We have family day once a month. But through that experience, even though it was done in the best way possible, and I like to preach that message to people that it can be done when you remove ego from the situation and focus on what's really important, this can be achieved very easily. But I just had this moment of, what am I doing with my life? I had always felt this dissatisfaction with career, and that I was being, I was sort of, I've been with my dad's business. I've worked with him since I was 9 years old. He had me filing in his first company, and then I've been with his companies ever since. And I love business, but I was always kind of following him. I felt I was just kind of doing that safe route, like Rachel, you were saying at the beginning. And I just had this moment of just no more. We get one life. It's so important to recognize what you're passionate about in here and just have that courage, let go of fear, choose love, and do it. So I started on a path of becoming a health and wellness coach. So I've gotten certified in personal training and behavior change, as you can probably tell, is very passionate to me. And here we are today. So sorry, I barely took a breath there.
No, you completely are where you're meant to be. And I'm definitely the same way as you, heart on my sleeve, just open, like receptive, willing, and lots of parallels for sure with exactly everything you talked going on in my life right now. And I think in Rachel, in her transition to Vernon and everything that she had to go through and lean into herself and everything else to the universe. So I think it's timely that you're talking about these elements of change and transition and how to navigate relationships with grace, and also feeling those emotions and the pain that comes with those I would say taking the high road as well. And something that a lot of elements that I've had to go through lately. So that speaks really deeply to me. So I think our audiences and your audiences will appreciate you opening up in this way and taking the ability to just be raw, to be open, and to say, hey, this is me. No attachments, no motives. Just this is what I've been through, and hopefully it helps others that might be going through something similar. So I think there's a lot to gain from that.
Yep.
That's a great point. And I'll build on that by saying, you'll see a lot of my social media is geared towards this. And I feel like in a day and age, social media is everybody's highlight reel. I feel like there's very few people who are just putting kind of their authentic selves out there and speaking a little bit more. So that idea of fear and doubt in themselves. I mean, I could easily scroll on this right now and find a million reasons to be like, oh, am I on the right path? Do I look good enough? Am I doing this the right way? But, people have to really check their relationship with Facebook and get very comfortable with yourself. That's why I say personal growth, you have to do it every day. Personal growth is like showering. If you don't do it, if you don't shower, your body's going to get dirty. If you don't do personal growth, your mind is going to get dirty. So you really have to do it every day.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I like that analogy, actually. There's something I just learned a bunch of things about you that I had no idea about. So thank you for sharing those things, because I feel like maybe I could be wrong, but I feel like I haven't really maybe for like a long time necessarily been very open and vocal about that on your social media, or I'm not sure if that's true, but I feel like I haven't. Yeah. So and then I was also going to say that because you just said about choosing love, and you learned that from your dad.
Absolutely.
He chose.
He did.
And it sounds like he's been doing that, and you got such a good example of that. It's such a transitional age, for lack of a better term. We're talking about, but 13 years old. I mean, that's like, you really are. I mean, in Judaism, they say that's when you become a man. I think that's kind of ludicrous. That's way too young to be.
It's fucking bullshit.
Yeah, like that's wild. 13. I can't even imagine being called a man at 13. Maybe not even 25, but that's another conversation.
Exactly. But you've had some incredible influences in your life and mentors, it sounds like. And, so sorry, go ahead.
No, you mentioned my dad, and that's mentor number one. I mean, I didn't realize to what degree until later in life, until you grow up, you have kids, and you now are able to kind of see things from the eyes of your parents back then. I can remember a million times where I'm like, oh, mom, you just don't know how it is. You just don't know, like we are all worldly and experience things that they've never experienced before. And, so my dad is that moment where the courage that it took for him at that time. Think about that. That's still the 90s. That was 97 or 98.
Yeah.
Coming out, although it was still very difficult today, the platform or the stage, if you will, to come out then was just so much more difficult, and for him to do that, it's kind of like a superpower. He's a superhero for recognizing in him. I asked him years later, I said, Dad, when did you know that you were gay? And he said he knew when he was 19.
Yeah.
Wow.
So the fact that I am here, and that even my brother is here because he's younger than me, is wild to me. Yep. They got pregnant on the first try for both.
Wow.
To put yourself in that framework to do that, with someone who you love dearly. Like my dad wanted to marry my mom because they were best friends, and he was still trying to figure out what was going on with him. But his desire to have a family was outweighing his desire to figure out what was going on inside him. So The fact I'm here is just a complete blessing. Actually, I really need to keep that in the forefront of my mind as I'm doing affirmations when I wake up as part of my kind of routine. I really need to include that.
But see, I feel that from you. Maybe it's not like a conscious thing for yourself, but that story it sounds like that's what's the driving force behind you.
Yeah.
Honestly, but it's with that being said, so when did your parents get together then? Like how old was, if your dad felt that way since he was 19, I'm just curious.
They got together in their early 20s. They went to high school together. They might have started dating just around the time that he figured things out, now that I think about it. Yeah, they were
Wow.
Yeah, early 20s, I would say. Yeah.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And then another thing that was, and I don't want to, throw or bring Hiiro into with his past, but when you're saying about being 13 years old and Hiiro, isn't that kind of when you had a lot of stuff happen?
Yeah, oh, for sure. I mean, like at 13, and no, you're not roping me in at all. I mean, at 13, I agree. When you're kind of in that pre-adolescent phase, male or female or whatever you are, there's definitely a lot of changes that happen chemically and neurologically, and so I lost my brother to cancer when I was 13, and he was my older brother, and I didn't have any other siblings. So when he got diagnosed when I was around 11 and a half or 12, and then he passed away when I was around 13 and a half, or no, 12 and a half, I guess. No. 13 and a half. It's at my bar mitzvah. So,
wow.
Yeah. So for that to happen, and then in terms of sexuality, like I already knew I was gay from the moment I was out of the womb. And then when I turned about not 10 or 11, I already knew and verbalized it when I was around 11 or 12. But nonetheless, as you just pointed out, for those things to happen at those ages, you kind of start to have that change of shit. Now I've got to go through my own adolescence and figure out how to navigate the life that I'm supposed to not even know that much about yet. And you almost have all this information that you don't quite know how to unpack and how to apply it as wisdom. You just kind of figure it out, and you're always in that state of fear. You're in that state of anxiety. That fight or flight response is so ingrained within you to just survive.
And how was your support system throughout that?
Thankfully, it was incredible, and I'm grateful for that. I had my parents, of course, and my mother for sure, my dad, and I had a couple close friends, but really it was my parents.
Amazing.
And the three of us really leaning on each other. So, and lots of therapy, nonstop therapy for sure.
I'm a huge proponent of therapy, by the way. I've been in therapy it started for a reason, but it's continued just because it's amazing, and amazing. I don't go all the time, but I'm certainly not afraid to go for a tune-up or something. There's something about that impartial third party that is just, you can't explain to people. People are so fearful of therapy. So if you are, don't be, because it's going to be the most freeing experience of your life.
It's true.
I do recall being when I was, again, it was 2001 and, it wasn't as, mental health, I think, was still stigmatized a lot more than it was now. And I remember needing a therapist at that time. I was 18, and I think because getting a therapist, because most people are just so open about it, and it's a great thing to do. You don't have to hide it. Whereas I felt like I had to hide that fact, like something was majorly wrong with me. And, that was, unfortunately, how I was introduced to it. Right. But, these days it's a little bit different. And with that being said, now that you have two little guys, Chris, and then just speaking about the things that happened to you at 13, do you feel like your draw to whom or the age groups or demographics that you like to help in your life, do you think that it might get down to maybe helping children and adolescents? And is that...
Yeah, that's a great, actually timely question that you're asking that. First of all, I'm open to help whoever wants to have a conversation is beautiful, because for me, I'm not living in any kind of regret. I don't live in regret. I believe everything happens for a reason at the perfect time for you as an individual. So I preface that by saying, if I had have been who I am right now 10 years ago, I just briefly think, what would my life look like today if I was able to have that courage? So the idea that I could potentially assist someone realizing this type of a mentality then brings me just such happiness. So anyways, timely question, because my mom, I'm not sure if you can hear that, but I have some, okay, fantastic. There's some work going on in the garden back there. My mom's neighbor was talking to her about, the struggles their son is having. He smokes a lot of pot, and he's dealing with some depression issues where, I don't judge you on whether you smoke pot or not. It's about, is your relationship good with it? If your relationship is fine with it, then fine. But if it's not, which it sounds like it is with this kid, he's going through just a lot of that adolescent stuff that Hiiro was just talking about. And, I said to my mom, I said, I work with them. They're clients of mine in my health and wellness business. I said, talk to them if I'd be happy to come over and have a conversation with him and find out a little bit about what he's dealing with, maybe share some stories of my own, because for way too many years that I care to admit on here, I smoked pot. And again, no judgment, but I got to a point last year where the relationship was no longer good. It was getting me in my head. I had, confidence issues, and I had social anxiety issues and things like that. So, short answer is I'd like to help, whoever needs it, adolescents, adults, whoever.
Right. And I mean, again, I think it's wonderful that you're not kind of putting yourself in a niche as far as the demographics you might end up serving, but more about the cause of the person and looking at the person as a whole. Because I think people can tend to, and it's fine if they do. I mean, there's reasons for specializations, and I think you need to know your place. But the fact that you're generalizing yourself, I think, is great, because your skills and your life experiences can be tangible. They can be transferred to so many different people, no matter what their background or what their walk of life might be.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. So just to the health and wellness part of fitness and those kinds of things. So you've been a personal trainer you're saying maybe you haven't been a personal trainer forever, but you were always very intrigued by and did your own personal training. But how long have you actually been certified?
Yeah, so certified for, it's only been 7 months since I've been officially certified. However, wow. I've been informally in this industry for over 15 years now, and more on the nutrition side over the last decade.
Yeah.
But I was debating whether or not to get the credential, because I've been doing it a long time, and anyways, from a business perspective, it made sense, and I'm glad I did, because I learned a lot of things that I didn't know, or that I did know, but here's a better way to frame it, and things like that. And it actually led me to the behavior change specialist side of things as well. So it was a good decision to make, but officially only about 6 months.
You have done, I just realized all these things that you're talking about with your partner and with the personal training and with the leaving, connecting on a different path to, leave your job and do what you're doing now. This has all happened throughout COVID.
It has. Yeah.
And the reason why I bring that up is because, and this is a very timely conversation with people that are, have had so many transitions and so many things. I would probably argue with someone saying that nothing has changed for them over this past 18 months, because I guarantee something has changed for everybody. And transition is a huge, word. And, I just wonder, it's just great to see people who have used this very fearful time, for, again, a lack of a better word, but it is a lot of fear, and have used it to another buzzword, pivot and try something and do something different. Like, did that kind of what's been going on? I mean, it sounds like it's something that you've been planning for a while, but was it kind of like what lit the fire under your ass to finally be like,
That's a great question. With regards to my separation, because that was the first big event during COVID, right? I don't think COVID had anything really to do with that. I think it was just it happened to align at the same time. We had been struggling for years to that point. It had been about 3 years that we, it started about 6 months after we had Leo. And, we decided to get into couples counseling, and it was good. And then it wasn't, it was good. Anyways, it was time to have that conversation. We had checked all the boxes, and that's, if two people, that's another thing, forget ego aside. If two people are going to make that decision, you want to make sure that you've checked all the boxes so that you can walk away saying there was no stone left unturned. We can actually walk away and say, we did our best and move on. So no, I wouldn't say COVID had anything to do with that. And, I don't know how much COVID really had to do with it, but I can tell you that from the health and wellness perspective, I can tell you that I certainly talked to enough people and experienced enough in my life with regards to COVID really affecting the mental health side of things. And forget the mental health side of things, keep that in mind, but the whole health and wellness. I'm vaccinated. I don't judge you if you make the decision not to or want to. That's a human right, I believe, to make that decision. But what I can do is teach, if you're someone who does not want to get the vaccine, I believe that there's very effective ways to increase your immune system and your health to a point where, I'm not saying that you won't get it and not be affected, but health and wellness has a lot to do with your immune system. I would love to know if at some point during that time period that maybe I got it myself. I mean, there were a couple of times where I'm like, maybe I got tested and I wasn't, but there's just a lot on the health side that I believe the government and people are not talking about by way of things people can do to boost your immune system. Sure, get the vaccine if you want. I'm not saying don't, but there's a lot of things you can do if you're not vaccinated to improve your immune system and give yourself a great chance of either getting it and beating it or getting it and not even knowing.
And I think that it basically and I know that this could be a very controversial topic. I'm like trying to watch my words.
It is. I know. I'm same here. It's very sensitive.
It's a very sensitive topic, and especially with the vaccine passports and Hiiro and I've had like fairly open conversations about that. But we're not going to make this podcast episode about that. But
sure.
But back to the health and wellness part of the whole thing. I think what's so positive about what's happened over the past year and a half is that it has put, like you said, health and wellness and mental health, like all that stuff really in the forefront of big picture. Because, if we can't hone in on that and be the again, lack of better terminology, the best versions of ourselves that we can possibly be, then how are we supposed to be that? How are we supposed to be there for the world or for the universe or for other people? And, it's really like getting back to basics again, right? Which is so wonderful in a sense. So, and with Hiiro being fully immersed in the yoga industry, I don't really teach yoga much anymore, but just how it's also flipped certain industries up on their heads because of being in person, not being able to do that as much anymore. With your personal training, Chris, and what you're doing, how have you noticed that's changed? Or are you doing most things virtually? How are you kind of going about navigating all that, especially new, like a lot of it being new to you from changing careers? But
yeah, for sure. It's all very new. For sure. To answer your question, with regards to the personal training and the nutrition side of things, I guess we'll say mostly personal training. I'm just taking on personal clients right now. I'm working on my other health and wellness business a little more prevalently, but I love that one-on-one interaction. I don't think I could ever get away from that, no matter how much my other health and wellness business takes off. I love that interaction. So I'm just taking personal clients right now, but I'm doing consultations and someone I know who lives in Alberta. She wants to transition careers and she wants to get into the police department and be a police officer. So I'm training her right now on how to, because they have, I forget the name of the test that they do. It's a 4-minute test. It's half running and sprinting and half obstacle course and kind of muscle endurance and things. So I'm kind of developing a program for her around the success of that whole test. So it's mostly virtual, but I do personalized in-person training. I
wonder how much that's going to change. Like, I just always wonder, is this enough, what we're doing, this virtual thing? I mean, you really do need that personal like touch and the energy of the people with you in the room, like I agree. I mean, especially with yoga, Hiiro. I mean, I'm sure, I don't know if you're doing virtual stuff with the yoga, but it's a lot more. I remember I took some yoga classes myself. I was easily the least flexible person in the entire class, but
that's good. Anyways, you won't get injured.
There you go. But just having seeing the instructor right there doing the movements from different angles, them walking around and sometimes correcting you or things like that, that to me, it's hard to get the 100% experience of a yoga class without doing that. And I would agree with personal training. I can give you the exercises. I can, send you demonstration videos on how to perform, proper form. But I like to be there and say, nope, just switch your elbow right here, arch your back a little bit more there. There's not, you in that industry, in the health and wellness industry, it's performed best at 100% when you're face to face. So
yeah, exactly. And I find that when COVID started, I was resistant to doing anything virtually because everybody was doing virtual, and even Instagram was like, okay, I don't know how to handle these algorithms going on right now. So then they had to figure it out. But I didn't do it with the mindset of getting paid or making a profit. I just did it to build community and to feel like there was a sense of structure for myself. And then once I got tired of that after about 3 or 4 months, kind of like June of 2020, and the studios started to kind of open up a little bit, limited capacity, and I went back to teaching in person. It still wasn't the same because, you have to stay where you're positioned. You can't navigate the room. You have no equipment. You can't use any props. You have your mat, like very strict guidelines, which are understandable for liability and for safety. Yeah. So in terms of virtual teaching, like I teach a corporate class actually on Tuesdays, like a 45-minute yin yoga class. And so that has been actually really nice to have once a week. And I've seen that. I've also tried teaching virtual classes for a couple months for another server, and it didn't work out. And I only had like one student a week, and it's very challenging to teach to a camera.
Totally.
It's just, it's not the same. So
it's lonelier. It's lonelier,
It's lonelier, and the energy isn't the same, and people are, and thankfully the stuff that I was teaching was more kind of yin restorative passive, so it wasn't as needed to be looking at your students as much because their cameras are off. They were just chilling out. But I can imagine for all the power teachers out there, for the more athletic teachers out there, for trainers or fitness teachers out there that are teaching like through a camera, good on you for sticking through it and making your living and trying to build community. But for me, I just wouldn't have been able to do it for anything other than stuff that I have been offering. Like it's not like,
I know we're not getting into the season for it, but did you ever do any outdoor yoga classes?
I didn't do anything outdoors. Actually, no, that's not true. I did do a couple outdoor classes for a nonprofit studio that's no longer around. But even that being said, in terms of like where I'm aligned and where I teach, I didn't have the ability to have a following to build an outdoor class. And whenever I looked at outdoor offerings and things like that, I mean, I don't have enough of a community at that point to really generate people to come.
Yeah.
So I kind of just stuck with what I knew and taught my 2 or 3 classes a week instead of like 15 or 17 a week pre-COVID. Yeah. And that's also one reason why, as Rachel was saying, or when you mentioned, am I in Toronto? Like that's one reason why I want to explore moving to Toronto, because there's a lot.
Yeah, fair enough.
even with COVID, there's a lot of communities that are resurfacing, that haven't closed down, that have been around for 10, 15, 20 years, that are saying, no, we're coming back and we're going to do it as best as we can. So there's more opportunity, even through the pandemic, starting to shift out, hopefully. I hope it's shifting out. I mean, it's really...
Listen, I cannot behave any other way than thinking that we are getting close.
Yeah.
We're going to figure this thing out because,
I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer, but not even Debbie Downer. I think I'm just being a realist when I say this. I feel like nothing is ever going to go back to normal, like quote unquote, whatever normal was, just throw it out the window. Like we're humans, I think we are built to adapt. We are strong inside, even though it might not. I feel like almost this has been like a test for humanity to be like, no, you know what? You're able to adapt. Like, we'll throw shit in your face. You can do it. You really can.
Yep.
I don't really feel like it's gonna be back to that normal. I really don't. I think
it'll be a new normal. I think you're right. I think it'll be a new normal. But there's the face mask thing. I'll wear it right now. I would love if we got to a point where I didn't have to wear it. I like seeing people's faces. I mean, I've gotten to know a lot of eyes, but I like seeing people's faces and people smile. And anyway, that's.
But
we'll see.
Actually, it was funny because I was talking to my husband about this yesterday, and we went to do some errands to like Rona and Home Depot, whatever, some house stuff, and even he was like, oh my God, this mask again. Like, oh, I forgot it in the car. Like, you're just like, and I'm just like, you know what? I'm so used to it now. But I said to him, like, you remember, you would see a lot of, in Asian cultures or things like that. And especially in Vancouver, we do have a lot of that population. And before COVID, if somebody was sick in their culture or whatever, like, you'd see people wearing face masks all the time. And that's what you see if you go to, I've never been to, I don't know. I'm just putting, it's just a big city, but Hong Kong or like those type of places. I feel like that can't be, I don't think that's a bad thing, to be honest.
Fair enough. I completely agree. Certainly I don't know what you got to think flu rates or something is going to go down as a result. Right. But I just, it's that connection.
I do know what you mean as well. I do. And then I think that also what a lot of people are still struggling with, and I do as well, is I work from home. And, you said something about like lonely, just having like one person or just speaking with a camera. I've noticed, and for you, Chris, I'm not sure how it is because now you're working from home. It's only been 2 weeks.
Yeah.
It's different. But, I find that, and I think advice for anybody working from home, like to split up your day or to have to, go outside and to, some people never were used to doing work from home because of COVID have had to. And interestingly enough, like really having health slap them in the face, because then they're becoming more, still they're not moving their bodies, they're eating worse, their habits are, catching up with them. And, so have you noticed any of that yet?
Yeah, that's a great question. A couple of weeks before I left my current job, I mapped out what my day would look like. I've only ever been in the corporate world. I know when I'm supposed to be there. I know generally when I'm supposed to leave. So I had to map out my day. Here's what it looks like from 5 a.m., which I get up religiously every day, 5 a.m. to the end of the day, everything hour by hour. And it'll fluctuate, but it keeps me honest because a part of me is like, oh man, I'm institutionalized. I've been in this, like now I'm effort-based, self-paced, all of that stuff. So I had to map out my day. And part of the day is stop, go outside, go for a walk, come back, make food. Like I literally wrote this stuff down to remind myself, here's to how to structure the day. And it's been absolutely beautiful. It's been
good,
fantastic. The first hour and a half, 2 hours of my day is personal growth and getting the mind prepped for the day and in the right framework. And it's been great.
That is not an easy thing to do though, man.
No, I know. COVID, through that experience, I would say, the most I've taken from the COVID experience and just kind of seeing what's happening with things out in the world is that, a lot of people, I've seen a lot of my friends who were okay, their jobs continued through. a lot of them didn't. And I saw that struggle. And for me, you know, my other health and wellness business, you know, I decided to transition into network marketing as part of my path was a supplemental income. As part of that, I saw that the health benefits that it provided me. So I was like, I'm on my journey of health coaching. I'm going to jump into this and see. And it was, you know, supplemental income. And then, I mean, here we are today. But what COVID taught me is a supplemental income is probably a good thing. The other thing it taught me is that so much is moving direct to consumer. I've seen big corporations downsize because they realize people can work from home. We don't need these big rents that are coming in. We can save on the bottom line. And a lot of stores, a lot of my favorite stores are now online. So I get everything, you know. So it's those two things I would say to just round out that question you asked were the things that I really took from COVID.
Right. And because it's funny, it's kind of great, I guess, that I don't know if it's great, that's a bad thing to say, but talked about what you're really doing right now with network marketing, which I like better than whatever they call it, you know.
Well, so network marketing.
Yeah.
Network. Well, I'm not sure what your question was going to be, but there's, you know, network marketing and like it is kind of multi-level marketing, right? It is the same thing.
Yeah.
A lot of people say, you know, they attach pyramid scheme to it, and that's fair. Trust me, that's fair. I get why that is. There's, you know, been a lot of network marketing companies. Actually, my mom was involved in 2 growing up, and I used to be like, Mom, what are you doing? Like, this is, and I feel bad now. I do feel badly that I gave her such a hard time. But, you know, there's a lot of multi-level marketing companies still. Yeah. It's gotten better, but still that kind of give a bad taste the way they operate. But not only that, individuals within those companies, whether they be good or bad, that are operating their businesses in not the best way. I think a lot of people have the stigma that it's preying on, right? And I certainly did as well. So I did my own research, and I mean, the fact that I'm involved in this industry is shocking to me. That's what I always, you know, we always play that game with each other. If I could see 5 years into the future, where would I be? What would I be doing? And, you know, it would shock me today. But anyways, it's everything is a pyramid in my mind. Everything is multi-level. You know, the corporation I just left from, there's a CEO, there's middle managers, there's workers. You know what I mean? So to just think of it as a pyramid to me is a little bit narrow focused.
Yeah.
So I definitely educate people on that. But the company I'm involved with, as far as a company and an outlook, which just in a nutshell is people and the planet versus profits over profits. And, you know, they're a B Corp certified company. There's just a lot of reasons why I wanted to get involved. I have been doing a lot more research on the planet and the planet's health and sustainability and just the overall health and wellness that's brought through the company that I'm involved with is just a beautiful thing. And I choose to operate my business from a service mindset rather than a sales mindset. And I think that's really important. You know, whenever I'm talking to someone, I would be doing a disservice if I didn't share with you what I do. If you're not interested, that's fine, but I'm not going to be able to not share what I do in the opportunity that I could help you either with health and wellness or in leveling up your life. If you feel like this is a path that you want to embark on. So that's just my mentality, and we'll see. You know, I don't have a timeline in mind. I'm just loving what I'm doing, and we'll see. The future has everything planned out perfectly.
And I can only imagine that this network marketing companies, I mean, this is a great time to get into that, because I feel like, you know, so many people are in that place in their lives where, you know, perhaps because of COVID, realizing that they can do what you're doing, Chris. And
it's unbelievable. It's really, if people can get over what they think they know about the industry, you have no idea what can open up for you. It is absolutely unbelievable. Hiiro talked about with regards to yoga, community.
Yep.
Community is so important. And if someone were to ask me, what do I love the most about the health and wellness company that I'm involved with, I would say the community. It is such a diverse group of people, all with the same opportunity. There's no better opportunity for men. There's no better opportunity for women. There's no better opportunity for whatever your background is. You are all on a level playing field, and it is up to you how you want to run your business. And you're helping people at the same time. You know, it's health and wellness, but it's not one of those, here's a magic pill and here's how you'll look 30 days from now. It's one of those, you know, we have a 30 day to healthy living is what we call it. And it's exactly what it sounds. 30 days to healthy living. It's designed to show you how to live a healthy lifestyle while not sacrificing the things that all get us to tick. I don't know about you. My vice is pizza. I had pizza 2 nights ago and it was glorious, but I don't feel any guilt because I know what the healthy lifestyle is that I'm living, and that's it. So it's beautiful.
That's wonderful. So it's interesting. Every time we chat with guests, we kind of take a look at how the time basically flies by. Given that
no doubt.
9:15. And so what me and Rich always love to check in before we kind of get your handles and get where people can connect with you and stuff is, where do you want to see yourself? Like, it's funny, where do you want to see yourself in 5 years? But where would you I always like to pull it back and say, kind of, where do you want to see yourself in 6 months from now? Like, really, like, breaking it down even more tangibly. Like, what can we expect, or what do you want to expect from yourself and as we move through the rest of the year into the next year?
That's a great question. The 5 years from now, I have a very, very clear answer. Breaking it down even more, you know, I'm working with a business coach right now, actually, and we're doing that. We started at 5 years, and now it's like, how about 4? What do you feel at 3? What are you doing? What are you doing at 2? What are you doing at 1? So, you know, are you talking more about personally or in business?
No, about you as a person.
Me as a person. Okay. I'm doing, you know, I think that we are all, you know, we're never perfect. And I think that 6 months from now, you know, there's a couple of categories in my life just with regards to mindset and personal growth that I'd like to achieve. So I think 6 months from now, I would not only like to see myself in a clearer framework of positivity and growth. And, you know, I'll just be completely vulnerable with you guys here, is that it's, you know, I think our confidence can always be better. You know, we have those moments of, you know, sometimes imposter syndrome and things like that. And just sometimes you step outside of yourself and you're wondering, you know, am I doing the right thing? But, you know, I think I want to see myself stay consistent and diligent and confident in the path that I'm on. And so I just have those moments, but I always, you know, we bring it back to fear. There's so many acronyms for fear, but the one I love the most is face everything and rise.
Yep.
You know, when you hear fear, face everything and rise. And so now when I see the word fear, I think about that, and it just gets me into a different framework. So I'm not sure if that answers your question, but I would just like to see my personal growth continue. And I would love to have people that I've helped realize that in the near future.
That's awesome. Very well said. Yeah, that's great.
It's the best to, I think that this is just a personal feeling, but I think that maybe some people are missing out in their lives if they don't really necessarily have something where they can somehow help the better good or the greater good, of society or of people. But that's just me, because I feel like for me, I feel like something is missing in my life if all I'm doing is, you know, going from, you know, point A to point B, you know, doing I've said this so many times in this podcast, for a lack of a better word, that mundane kind of daily routine, you know, coming home, doing my thing, and then eating, sleeping, repeat, you know. But if I can do something Like even, so that's why the podcast, you know, that's why these little, and it doesn't have to be, like your entire day of work. It doesn't have to necessarily be your passion. It can be these little snippets, little slivers.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Well, because I think some people just think it's all or nothing. It's like, okay, well, I either have to, okay, does that mean I have to pivot and my whole life has to change in order for me to change someone else's lives?
Mm-hmm.
You know, yeah, and you think about it personally too. You know, anyone listening out there, it start by doing something different each day, something little, something uncomfortable. You know, I try and do something different every day, something I otherwise wouldn't do, whether it be a little switch up in my routine or even a different exercise at the gym that I didn't want to do, because we're all such creatures of routine and comfort. But you know, success always lies on the other side of discomfort. So as much as you can be uncomfortable and dive into the things that make you uncomfortable, you grow as a person. It's fascinating how it happens when you just start doing these little things. And
well said. Very well said.
Yep.
So, as we start to wrap up, how can people find you? We always put things in our show notes, but if there's, you know, something you want to leave with, if they want to leave, not even just your handles, but, you know, who are you trying to, I guess, connect with? It's probably anybody, but
yeah. I'm not picky about who I connect with. I want to connect with people that get value from what I'm doing. You know, I might not be for everybody, but if I am, you certainly, the best place to find me would be on Instagram. So it's at Chris Menz, MENZ. And people can always email me as well, which is chrismzees@gmail.com. I'll give you guys my information, but those are probably the two best places to connect with me.
Love.
Amazing. Super simple and easy. And social media is a great way to build your network and also a way for people to easily access or message you. So definitely, if you want to get in touch with Chris, please follow up with him. And hopefully this dialogue with the three of us will provide and prompt people to take action on their life.
I hope so. Yeah.
Absolutely. I went like this because I always like, Hiiro, are you there? Are you there?
Right. I'm the
Hiiro's right here for me.
I know.
It's the reverse. Yeah.
Hiiro, I have a quick question for you.
Sure.
Because I'm curious. I understand that Hiiro is not your given name, and I really want to know what it is.
I don't speak of my birth name. However, what I do, if it's in a post or someone mentions it, then I don't censor or delete it.
Okay.
What I can speak, because otherwise it's like, okay, come on, that's a little bit harsh. Because again, like, I'm not trans, I'm cisgendered and stuff, so it's not like it's a dead name, but in a sense, it's a dead name because it's not the name that I've been addressed by anybody for at least a decade now, which is wild to think it's been that long, maybe even like 15 years. But I can say that the name Hiiro generated itself from when I was quite young, and it came from my favorite video game character because I'm a major gamer and a major role-play gamer. So a lot of characters and stories, and you're basically playing through a movie and the characters, and you're interacting as those characters. So Hiiro came from that, and then the two eyes, because people wonder, why is it not an E? Why is it one eye? Well, for me, one eye looks really insignificant. No offense to those that are named Hiiro and that have one eye. But if you're looking at the way that in anime dubbing, how they say Hiiro, which is basically like saying George or Tom or John or Bob, it's a very common name. It's always Hiiro. And so when I think about that, it sounds like an E. So if you have two eyes, it's, in my mind, it's phonetically sound like an E sound instead of an I. And so it's interesting when people are unsure, because most people say Hiiro, but some people say Hiiro, and I'm like, it's not Hiiro. Like, it was Hiiro. That's why I put one extra I in, because if it was one I, then people might pronounce it as two syllables, which would be Hiiro. And I'm thinking, I was trying to prevent this from happening, but people are not sure what the fuck they're supposed to say. So how is that making any sense?
My youngest son's name is Zay, and it's Z-E with an accent, and you'd be shocked how many people are like, Z?
Really?
There's an accent there, you
There's
know?
a reason for that.
Yeah.
And what I'm
So-
curious, I'm curious to ask you, with you mentioning the name Zay, what was the inspiration for the name, if there was one?
Yeah, there was for sure. My ex Chantel, her dad's name is Jose, and it's a Portuguese name. And when he was growing up, his friends would call him Zay, and we just liked that shortened version. So that's where that came from.
That's a really cool name. And it's
I know, I agree, right? It's cool.
super cool name. And it's interesting to me that Canadians can't pronounce it, because with the accent, that's like a French as well.
Yeah.
I know.
You would think
With a name like Zay, I imagine him being like the life of the party. Like, oh, you hear Zay's coming to the party? You know,
Yeah.
like I just can picture that now. Not to fast forward too far, but
yeah.
It's true. I agree with that. That's awesome. And also, what's your other child's name then?
Leo.
Right. That's right.
Leo.
Love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Cute.
Yeah.
Originally, when I went like this, I wanted Hiiro to ask our last question.
Oh, that's what that was. Sorry, I'm still asleep.
Oh, this is the last question.
No,
Got it. Got it. Well, no, it's funny. Rachel's like, eventually we'll switch this up. And I'm like, no, most likely not, because it's been pretty consistent since we started. But one of the things that we like to ask our guests, because it's a fun and lighthearted question, is, as we are the Getting Juicy podcast, if you could be any kind of juice, what kind of juice would you choose to be and why?
That's a good question. I'd say passion fruit.
Aww.
I'd say passion fruit because I'm very passionate, and I'd like to say sweet at the same time. So that's what I would say.
You do have a very sweet passion and very sweet demeanor for sure. If you were gay,
thank you.
if you were gay and I was staying in Vancouver, then that would be, perfect.
I am flattered. I am flattered. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh man, that's the first time we've had passion fruit, I think.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
We've had like a few pineapples, a few grape juice,
Yeah.
celery juice. We had a lot of but first passion fruit. So
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah. It's amazing.
Wheatgrass came to mind as well, but I'm like, there's not a lot of places you can go with that. You know, it's bitter and it's dark.
Very and medicinal.
It's healthy though. It's healthy. So I don't know.
It's very healthy. It is very healthy and has lots of benefits for sure, which is amazing. So
Absolutely.
yeah. Is there anything else you want to leave or drop before, I think, as Rachel was going to say, before we, wrap it up?
There is one thing that I want to say, and it's a story that I heard, a very, very short story I heard from Jim Carrey of all people. And I don't know if you guys know a lot about Jim Carrey, the deeper side, but he has become, he's an unbelievable man. Unbelievable man. We could do a whole podcast on Jim Carrey, but
I love him. Yes.
In the nature of choosing love over fear, which we began this podcast on, I'm going to leave you with this story that Jim Carrey told about his dad. He said, my dad could have been an excellent comedian, but he chose to become an accountant in a safe job and do a 9-to-5. And when Jim was 13 years old, his dad got let go from that job, that safe job. And he says he's learned many lessons through his father throughout the years, not the least of which is that you can fail doing something you don't want. So why not take a chance doing something you love? So I want to leave everybody with that.
That's awesome. I love that. And I love Jim Carrey too. He's full of
love.
Fantastic. Thank you for sharing that. I haven't heard that.
That's
no problem.
Really amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you again so much, Chris.
Thank you guys. This was fun. You guys have such a good energy on this thing. It's just it's so loose, and I like the format of just having a conversation, and just like it's titled Getting Juicy. It's just letting it fly, letting the conversation fly. So, I'd be happy to do this again one day in the future. So a lot of fun.
Absolutely open to that for sure. And thank you for the kind words. That really means a lot. It's what we strive for about our podcasts and making sure that it's its own creation. every single episode.
And never stop this. Keep going. Keep having conversations with people. It's fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And if you know other people that might be aligned with this type of format that are in different or similar industries, feel welcome to let Rachel
100%.
and myself know as well.
100%. Absolutely.
Yeah. Amazing.
Thank you so much. Have
No
a
worries, guys. You as well.
rest of your day.
You as well.
Thank
All
you.
Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.